Hi, today we're going to evaluate two commercial shredders side by side so that you as the user can actually see what these particular shredders look like before you buy. One of the biggest challenges with buying commercial shredders is that you're always buying either from a browser and you know that's a printout of what the browser looks like, but it's very hard to determine how big that shredder actually is in a browser. So, and the same thing is if you're buying it from a contract book, it makes it equally difficult because is that shredder bigger than that shredder or bigger than that shredder? Well, I know that this shredder is more than twice the size of that, but you can't really tell from the contract book, so it makes it very difficult. And then of course, side-by-side comparisons are impossible. If you're going to go and spend $1,000 plus on a paper shredder, it would be nice to be able to test both units out so that you can make, first of all, informed decision. I'm going to introduce you to the Fellows C-380 28 sheet strip cut shredder. This unit here can shred 28 sheets at a time. It is a large shredder. It has approximately a 31 to 32 gallon bin. It is a powerful unit, and it's been around for a long time. It's a very good shredder. It has a broad intake throat. Notice there. This comes up so that you can actually clear it if it does jam. And we're going to compare that to the Staples 30 sheet strip cut shredder. This is the NSC30A. This shredder can shred 30 sheets at a time. And first off, I wanted you to notice just how big these two units are. This unit has a 28 gallon bin, about 4 gallons smaller, but you can physically see that this unit is slightly narrower than that particular unit, although it is just about an inch taller, and it's about the same depth. So you're looking at about 2 inches bigger for this particular shredder here. In addition to which, this has a smaller intake throat. So the question I have is, if you shred a lot of paper that's not your standard letter size paper, and you're shredding not even your standard legal size paper, but you're shredding A3 paper or tabloid paper or paper that's bigger than that, this shredder makes a lot of sense because it wouldn't fit in this shredder. So this shredder would make sense. But for the most part, most companies use your standard letter size this shredder here or legal size paper. Has no kind of indication other than a small LED light of what's going on. There's no real other indicators. The Staples unit has an LCD display, a liquid crystal display. All right. So it'll actually tell you whether it's in reverse, forward, whether the door's open, etc. This shredder here has little LEDs that come on when things change on the shredder. So door open, for example, it would be in reverse. It doesn't actually tell you it's in reverse, but you have to hold it down. Power, off, power. So the only real function on this particular shredder is reverse. Okay. The Staples unit, you can put the unit in reverse. You can power the unit forward if you need to. You can stop. All right. Notice when this unit is asleep, the way that this unit works is you simply power it up by pressing the green button. That is what they call the Go Eco Life power saving switch. This will power the unit down after 30 minutes of inactivity. I do believe that the Fellows unit has the same sort of feature where it powers down after approximately the same amount of time. So, but in order to switch this one on and again, I think you press that button there, and it comes back on, off, on, and Staples, stop, start. All right. Some of the other interesting features of these two shredders I wanted you to notice is the Staples unit has what we call a T-door design, so it makes getting into the shredder quite easy. The Fellows unit has a barn door design. Now the only disadvantage of a barn door is that if you are really cramped for space, the barn door takes up a lot more space. I mean, side by side you can see how much more space you need to be able to accommodate the Fellows unit. Now, I know many companies have small mail rooms where they have copiers on the one side and all the binding and lamination equipment that you need on the other side, and there's not that much room. So that may be a consideration. Other important things to notice is, the first thing that sprung to mind was, look at the caster, meaning the wheel, on the staples unit. You'll notice that it's a solid steel wheel with a rubber roller, and it in fact is lockable. So once it's in place, you can lock it, and now that unit is actually locked in place, and to unlock it, you just flick it up like that. The fellows unit is just a standard plastic caster. So solid steel caster versus standard plastic caster. Steel cabinet, staples unit, steel cabinet all the way around. So very similar in that. They have a voice assist feature here. The voice assist provides you information about what's going wrong with the shredder if you need it. So for example, if the door's open, it actually flashes red. It says the door's open, but if for whatever reason you don't realize what's going on, you can in fact hit info.
Make sure wastebasket is properly seated or basket door is closed.
This unit also has no handles. It's a pretty flush unit. I want you to see the staples unit does have handles in the side, which in some circumstances have come in useful, especially during the unpack process. Staples has been clever. They realize that when you sell paper shredders, oftentimes the first thing to get shred is in fact your shredder manual, because people want something to actually demo. So what they've done is they've actually put the main details about the shredder right on a sticker, permanently mounted to the shredder right there. I think that's a very clever innovation. So Fellows doesn't have any information like that, which is interesting. I want you to notice that both units have storage. So lubricant sheets or bottles of oil can go there. This shredder has storage in both sides for, lubricant sheets. So in that regard, they're very similar. So rather than me just listening, I'm going to actually put a decibel meter on it and measure these two shredders side by side. Now, please understand that calibrating a decibel meter is tricky. It's a function of the room. The only purpose of this is to do a comparison between these two. So any reading we get on here is just to determine which one's quieter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the decibel meter approximately that far apart. Try and be as quiet as possible. And shred. So somewhere between 68 and 69, I think, was the reading on that for the staples unit. Now we go straight across to the fellows unit and do the same thing. Be quiet as possible. $75. I'm going to do that one more time just to verify. Again, about 75. So, side by side, I think we're at 67 on this one, 75. The bottom line is that the staples unit is definitely quieter of the two shredders. So let's actually look at how these two units shred. So the staples unit is a 30-sheet strip cut shredder. The fellows unit is a 28-sheet strip cut shredder. I'm going to shred 30 and 28, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 additional sheets to both piles and see how the units perform, see if they overload. So here's the 30 sheets for the staples unit. Wow, it remained even quieter with 30 sheets. So it handled the 30 sheets no problem whatsoever. Here's the fellows with 28 sheets. Again, very powerful, didn't seem to have any problem. So let me try 32 sheets with the staples unit and see what happens. No problem. Oh, it did say overload, but it actually took it and just shredded it through. So it actually cleared the 32 sheets, no problem. Here's 30 sheets in the fellows unit. It gets tight. You can actually feel that it's and it did overload. So now I'm going to have to try and back this out. Oh dear. I really jammed this unit. Okay, what I'm going to try and do is, to unjam it, I'm going to try and trigger the optical sensor. There we go. Alright, so the fellows unit had no problem handling its stated 28 sheets, but at 30 sheets it didn't like it, it jammed. The Staples unit handled 30 sheets and 32 sheets no problem. And you know, so both handle their specs. I think the Staples unit is definitely more powerful than the Fellows unit. So one other thing I wanted to just point out was the way the two units are packaged is interesting. The Fellows unit comes, and it actually comes to you laying down on its side, and although it's not difficult to unpack, it is really a two-person job. This is a big shredder, and it's heavy. I mean, it's got a big motor and a big cutting mechanism in it. So when it's laying down on its side and it gets unpacked, it's going to take two people to lift it up. The Staples unit comes standing up, and this lid that you can see is in fact inverted now. All you do is you lift the entire lid off, and then you have access to the shredder. But that's not really what I wanted to point out. What I wanted to point out was, look at the amount of styrofoam that comes with the Fellows unit. There's styrofoam all the way around it. In the Staples unit, Staples is really making an attempt to be more environmentally responsible, and so they have formed corrugated cardboard that form both the base and, if you look inside there, the head of the unit. And then they use these cardboard pillars to reinforce the corners of the shredder. So from an environmental standpoint, you know, styrofoam is a really hard to recycle, horrible substance if it ever gets out into the environment, whereas cardboard is obviously very recyclable, and I think that Staples has done a very good job of packaging their units.